There is
Patrick CC, the death of mainstream. Let's get
more
it, bro.
high quality content available than ever before, and yet
True,
most people
true.
feel like there is something missing. There was once a
Yeah,
time where it
yeah.
felt like
Oh
we were on the
yeah. Look at
same
that. Look at that. Look at
wavelength
that.
when
Look
it
at that. Look at that. Look at that. If y'all don't know anything on this shit, bro, you young as
came
shit, bro.
to
And I'm young as
entertainment
fuck
and
though.
pop culture. Everything felt more impactful.
It
Movies
felt
were bigger.
great, bro.
Music spread further.
Yes,
Famous people
sir.
were actually famous.
Famous for real,
Awards
for
meant
real.
something. And if there was a shocking story in the news, it was
It was actually
impossible to
crazy.
miss. It
Yes,
was much
sir.
easier to have your finger on the pulse of pop culture, and it created this bond that we had together as strangers. And we took it for
True.
granted, because now that that bond is gone, the
It's like
world of
it's
entertainment,
dead though.
music, movies, shows, social
Feels
media
off.
feels oversaturated,
Yeah.
confusing, and dull. I bet most of you can relate to this. How many
True,
times
bro.
these days does someone say to you, "Hey, did you hear about," or "Hey, did you see,"
Whole
and
time you
not
don't know
only is your
nothing, bro.
answer no, but you literally have no idea
Who
what
that
they are
is?
talking about.
Yeah, bro. Like
Life
damn.
wasn't always like that. What we are missing today and for the past few years is a
True though.
monoculture, which is essentially one culture that all Americans are connected to.
Not even
Sometimes I
Americans,
even
the
call it
world,
the death
gang.
of mainstream, because nothing really feels mainstream anymore. Every
True.
decade had their own version of monoculture that was seemingly easily defined. But
Right.
what will define the 2020s?
Bro,
Monoculture
a bunch
is
of
dead.
bullshit.
And for anyone watching this that's like a teenager or younger, it means nothing because they can't relate to that
They
experience.
can't relate
But
to
literally
jack
anyone
shit, gang.
older than that remembers
Bro.
their version of monoculture.
Bro,
And
wait. Nigga, am I getting old though? Bro, I was not even born in like the 1990s and whatnot, bro. But bro, what the fuck? A nigga real old, gang. Yo, nah,
probably
that shit
misses it because
crazy.
it represents a much more simple time. Every
True,
generation
bro.
before Gen Alpha had limited options for entertainment, and they thought it was a burden, flipping through TV channels saying, "Oh, there's nothing to watch."
Yes,
But now
sir.
our options are infinite.
Bro, that shit
3.7
suck, gang.
million YouTube videos uploaded
Yeah,
every day, one
that shit
streaming service
wild.
with every song ever made, and 100,000 new songs being
Podcast and
uploaded
shit.
every day. Dozens of subscription services with thousands of movies and TV shows, a
True,
literal
bro.
endless singular feed of short form videos that
Yeah,
one can spend
TikTok, gang.
hours without realizing the
Actually,
time has
short form
passed.
content.
And despite having access to all of this content, a lot
We
of us
still feel
feel
lonely.
bored and disconnected from each other. Well, today I want to talk about that feeling. That feeling like something is missing. I believe it is tied to the death of monoculture. So let's dive into how we got here,
So what you
where
call
it
this
went
one?
wrong, and actually why some of you might consider it to be a good thing. Entertainment has always evolved
though,
based
though?
on the available technology. The
True.
easier it is to consume, the less impactful it is. Movie theater ticket sales had their all-time peak in the US in 1946.
Hey, look. Back then, movies were tough, bro. Bro, there was no CGI, no goddamn, bro. It was all acting, gang. It was all storytelling and acting, bro. Bro, till this day, nigga, I still watch old movies, bro. Fuck them young movies, bro, about them CGIs and, bro, that shit, it washed. All right? It's washed, bro.
Over 90 million weekly admissions were
Bro.
recorded, which means that about 60% of the US population went to go see a movie that year. Now, were movies objectively better in 1946? Absolutely not. There were just less of them, and less entertainment overall. The introduction of the television
bro.
likely
Okay,
slowed
yeah,
down
the
movie
90s,
ticket
I was not
sales,
in the
but
90s.
opened up a whole new
Wait,
opportunity.
when did Rocky drop though? We got movies like Rocky, bro. We got movies like, you know what I'm saying? Who this nigga, bro? We got a lot of movies, gang. I can't even name them on top of my head, gang. Them shit,
For entertainment,
yeah.
cartoons, sitcoms, and of course, ads. You've probably never heard of Spokeo, Truthfinder, or Been Verified, but
Yeah,
they've
nah, bro.
definitely heard of you. These are data brokers.
Oh, watch out,
Accident
bro. Watch
selling
out,
our
Patrick.
private
Watch out, Patrick. I got you.
at
Yes,
these sketches.
sir.
Time it aired, or you missed it, and vision has its limitations. You had to watch the show at the exact time it aired,
True,
or you
true.
missed it and
You
had to
missed
wait
it,
for
nigga.
someone
You
to tell you what
yeah.
happened the next day. Or
You
even
feel me?
worse, you had to read this book called the TV Guide to figure out when they were going to air a
Yes,
rerun.
sir.
Plus, there were only a few
Yo.
channels, so competition for attention was fierce. But that also meant that millions of people were watching the same thing at the same time, with most households
hard.
operating on 9-to-5 work schedules schedules, the only time carved out to entertain yourself was between 7 and 10. This was known as prime time, and that's when the few good shows were on. Families watched the
Yes,
same
sir.
things
At the
together,
same time.
and a new episode
You wouldn't
airing at
go-
8
bro.
p.m. on a weeknight could dominate school hallways and office break rooms the next day. Worst case scenario, you could stay up for late night television where Letterman would catch you up on all your pop culture news. We were connected as humans, kind of operating on the same wavelength, and the
little bit.
entertainment added to our humanity. That is, unless you were entirely disinterested from the few available shows and movies, then you had no other options.
You were
your
probably
life
right.
sucked,
Yeah,
and you
bro.
were looking for other
Yeah,
forms of
yeah.
entertainment like
You probably were depressed and just living in your room for no goddamn reason, bro. Like at that time, bro, you could have just be in your room because there was nothing to do in your room, gang. You feel me? Nigga, you ain't got no phone, you ain't got nothing, bro. It's all TV. You gotta go watch that TV with your family, gang.
heroin, but at least back then it didn't have fentanyl in it. But the way people consumed movies
Bad
and
joke.
television stayed relatively the same for decades. By the 1970s, 95% of households had a TV in it. And then in the 80s and 90s, there was a massive uptick in available entertainment, like an entire TV channel dedicated to showing music videos or an entire channel dedicated to showing cartoons. But even with more
Bro,
niche
y'all niggas,
options,
bro.
primetime shows still dominated
It was
pop
still- it
culture,
was still
and
hard, bro.
Americans still felt a sense of togetherness through a somewhat limited availability. Is music not hitting the same anymore? Doesn't it feel like you used to have a connection with others based on a
Bro, it's TikTok, bro. With musician, I feel like it's TikTok, bro. There's a lot of musicians out this bitch. You don't even know. You fucking find out like you find out like a lot of artists, bro. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying like you just get to find out a lot of artists at the same time, and it's like, damn, bro, who the fuck am I connecting to really? You feel me? Like,
shared love for the same music?
You
Well,
feel-
music had a similar permeating connection to monoculture with a few key differences. For most of the 20th century, music was somewhat of a luxury. Today, for $15 a month, you can get access to every song ever made and 100,000 new ones uploaded daily. $15 used to get you one
Right.
album, and you had to take your happy ass to a record store and physically buy it. And
Yeah,
if the
that's
album
why
was in
I was
high
not
enough
alive at
demand,
that
they
time,
might
yeah.
not actually have it. And that seems like a dumb thing to say, but in our modern culture, entertainment is never not available to you. These stores often had a strong sense of community and served as a gathering place for music fans. It wasn't unusual for artists to stop in and play mini concerts or sign albums before an
Damn.
appearance in a
Imagine Cardi in that bitch, bro. At that time, gang. You know what I'm saying? Cause now we got niggas like Cardi not even showing up for nothing, bro. He can just postpone a show when he wants, and he's just like you can't do jack shit about it, gang. You feel me?
particular
Ain't nothing
city.
you can
When
do
people
about
bought
it.
an album, they were
Ain't
now
nothing you can do
invested.
with it.
They worked hard for that money. So to get the value back, they actually listened
Had
to
to
the whole
listen
thing.
to the music
they even
and
tried to like the
re-listen to the
songs
shit.
that they didn't initially like because they
Yeah,
paid
nigga.
for it, which
You feel
ultimately
me?
made them appreciate the artistry on a different depth. This uninterrupted focus on the music
That's
built
true,
a
though,
deeper
gang.
connection from the
I'm not
fans to
paying
the
no music
artist.
to hate
Fans
the
had
music,
to
gang.
imagine what their favorite musicians were like based on lyrics, a few
Damn.
interviews, and carefully staged photographs in magazines or posters on their wall. There was a
Yo, Rolling Stone
mystique.
been there.
Pop stars felt larger than life, almost like fictional characters, which is why people would pass out at
MJ,
the mere sight of
nigga.
Michael Jackson.
You
Today we
feel
have
me?
countless interviews and endless access to all of their thoughts and opinions on social media. That mystery is gone. Artists are more
Drizzy
accessible than
Drake.
ever, and
Ain't
because
nobody-
of that, they feel
I feel like this nigga IG weird as fuck though. I don't know why, bro. Bro, Jake's IG is weird as fuck, bro. I'm even off IG, not because of him, but because of like I see a whole bunch of weird niggas doing
less
weird
special.
shit, bro.
And since music was basically a luxury, most people
Nigga,
didn't
is
have tons
weird.
of disposable income to buy every release they wanted to listen to.
True,
so they
true.
typically resorted to listening to the
Radio.
radio or watching MTV. You couldn't just search your favorite Guns N'
MTV.
Roses song and get that instant gratification. You had to turn on MTV and just
And wait for
it
that
to
shit.
come
You
on.
know what I'm
But in
saying?
the
If it didn't
meantime,
come
you
to-
were
come on,
consuming
bro.
tons of other good songs that made
True,
you a more
true, bro.
well-rounded
See,
music
yo.
listener. And that was the same predicament for everyone. So at school
Mm.
dances, parties, or
You knew every
clubs,
song,
everyone
gang.
felt connected because the songs that were being played were the ones that everyone had the same access to. A lot of club DJs today still mostly play
That's
music
true,
from
bro.
the 2010s, and a lot of people wonder why they aren't playing more modern music. Like, are we all crippled by nostalgia? Well, not necessarily, but when you play music from the 2010s, you can kind of guarantee that everyone in the club is going to know
Knows
those
it.
songs.
Yeah.
Whereas today, everyone just listens to vastly different music.
That's what I feel like, bro. Back then, nigga, a lot of niggas had music. That's why, like, most artists, bro, I feel like most artists that are, like, big are, like, artists from way back then, gang. And by way back then, I mean, like, before 2020, you feel me? Before 2020 and upwards, gang. Because 2020 and upwards, we just had, like, artists coming in, coming out, artists coming in. Who would you say is, like, the biggest artist that came out of 2020, gang? I don't know.
What's considered extremely
And still
popular
here,
and
and,
mainstream to
like,
you might
doing that
literally
shit.
not be considered extremely popular and mainstream
True,
to the person
true.
next to you. Today, we have unlimited access to every song ever made. When a new song or album drops, it is just right there in your phone. You don't have to talk to anyone, don't have to buy it, don't have to wait. Most of the time, the artist is actually begging you to listen to it, or you accidentally found out about it. You didn't even want to discover it. Most people have resorted to just letting the algorithm decide what music to recommend to them because it's easier than doing all of the effort I just talked about.
Everything
before.
just feels
Combine
stale,
this
gang.
lack of mono connectivity through music, requiring absolutely no effort to get access to the music, as well as artists not having the star power due to overexposure, and surprise, surprise, music holds absolutely no value to the average casual listener. Once
True.
we entered the 2000s, the rapid advancement of available technology caused a dominant monoculture to become more fragmented. TVs were becoming cheaper, bigger, and higher quality. The internet was getting faster, becoming easier to access and navigate.
Yeah.
Cell phones were in everyone's pocket. We were becoming more
Yeah, I never had
connected
a
than
cell
ever, but
phone
we
back
didn't
then, gang.
realize it was actually going to drive us further apart.
That's
In my
true, bro.
opinion, 2000 to 2010 was a great sweet spot for pop culture. I would describe today's culture as everything all at once.
Yeah,
And
nah,
the early
nigga, what you
2000s
saying.
was the same, but it was slightly more manageable.
That
Let's
shit
start
was
simple.
cool, though.
Movies. Here's a graph
Shit
of
was cool,
every
though.
movie released per year around the world. You can see the quantity of movies released
Yo, that
remained
shit was cool,
relatively
though.
the same from the early 1970s to the late 1990s, and
True.
it just started slowly ramping up in the 2000s before it exponentially exploded. Back then, there was a rhythm to it all. You'd get 2 or 3 massive
Bro.
blockbusters every
2017 to 2018. I feel like 2018 was the last great year, bro. Or 2019, fam. You feel me? 2019, 2018. I feel like those were like the prime years. You feel me? Going backwards, it's like, damn, nigga, that shit was hard. But now, like 2020, bro, yeah, it wildin', bro.
summer.
Yeah,
Movies
that's a
like
stretch, bro.
Spider-Man, Pirates of the Caribbean,
Woo!
or The Dark Knight, which
Yes,
dominated
sir.
culture for
Yeah, well,
weeks.
yeah,
As
most
fall
y'all
and
niggas
winter
don't know
rolled
the
in,
Pirate
you'd
of
see
Caribbean,
smaller
man. A
budget,
drunk
more
motherfucker,
experimental,
bro.
or just simple
A drunk
films
fucking
rise to the
pirate, gang.
surface.
You know
Movies
what I'm
like
saying?
Eternal Sunshine of the
Yes,
Spotless
sir.
Mind,
I don't
Little
know
Miss
that one, bro.
Sunshine,
I don't know that
Juno,
one.
and Requiem for a
Yo,
Dream.
what the
Everyone
fuck?
kind of knew what was coming and when it was
I don't
coming,
know
and
what
that
those
predictability created
funny
a shared sense of
ass movies.
anticipation. Even smaller budget films had a shot at becoming massive, and the reason they
True.
had a shot was because
it's
people
going to
actually
cinema.
went to the theaters. Our last peak in movie theater ticket sales was in 2002 when 1.5 billion tickets were sold.
Yeah.
But even if you didn't go to the theater, we had these really cool things called DVDs where you could buy
Yo, DVDs were the best, bro. Bro, that's why I think I'm old as fuck, but I'm still young, though. Like, in my mind, I think like, damn, I'm young as fuck. Like I ain't even expect, bro. But when I tell you, bro, we used to go to goddamn, you know what I'm saying? Go buy the motherfucking CDs, pull up, put that motherfucker in the DVD, you know what I'm saying? Put that motherfucker in the goddamn, you know what I'm saying? Record that motherfucker, play that motherfucker, bro. You had to watch it at the same time. You feel me? Like, and then tomorrow you gotta bring that motherfucker back. You feel me? And get
the
another
movie
one,
that you
though.
missed and watch it
Yes,
at home.
sir,
And
bro.
if you
That
didn't
shit
want to
was
commit to
tough, gang.
buying it, no worries. You could rent the film for a few bucks
You
by
feel
going
me?
to this magical place
You
called
feel me?
Blockbuster. This is a store where
Yeah.
you could essentially browse all of the movies that
Yo.
you didn't get the chance to see. You would
You
actually
feel me?
talk to the employee who worked there, and they would
And the
give you
nigga will tell you like, yo, bro, this like one of the best movies. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but we used to like get action movies, get comedy, and then we would just like get what the nigga that's selling. Like these best options to pick. You feel me? Because it was like a connection, fam.
Do a
Yeah.
recommendation or tell
Yeah.
you what everyone else is renting. Sometimes a movie was
Feel
in
me?
such high demand that all of their copies would be rented and you couldn't get it. Imagine that. Imagine any form of entertainment
can't get
being
it.
unavailable for you today. Scarcity created demand, and it made the film more exciting. It made you
True,
want
bro.
to watch it more.
True,
Most
bro.
of those crappy yet special early 2000s
Is
comedies were the perfect films
American
to pick
Pie?
up at a
Probably
blockbuster,
right.
and people loved that place. The company earned $5 billion in revenue.
I don't know
in
why they closed.
2004.
Okay.
The point is
Okay.
that you and everyone around you had this physical connection with the entertainment and was actively using their brain to choose what they wanted to consume.
bro.
TV
True, bro.
still had a somewhat similar
True,
rhythm in the
bro.
2000s.
TV
Primetime was still
was a
valuable
bust.
airtime. MTV was in its best era, in my opinion, having a plethora of terrible yet oddly captivating reality
Shows,
TV
bro.
shows
True,
and
bro.
experimental series, while still
Uh-huh.
having their sister network, MTV2,
Yes,
play
sir.
music videos 24/7. It was one of the most versatile eras for mainstream
Hey,
music, with
yo.
lyrical rap, crunk rap, rock, emo rock, country, pop, EDM, R&B, and countless other genres in a healthy rotation on MTV and the radio. It was just on the cusp of being overwhelming, but having it all contained on MTV and VH1 made
I
it
feel like niggas don't listen to the radio now. Cause I don't listen to the radio, bro. I feel like that's kind of cringe. It's kind of weird. But me saying that, it's kind of crazy too. Cause I used to listen to the radio back then when I had no mobile device or anything.
still manageable to keep up with. Kids were absolutely consumed
Yo,
by Nickelodeon,
and
Disney,
Disney
Channel, and
Channel,
Cartoon Network,
yo,
which were three
baby.
separate networks that each had 2 to 3 shows worth paying
Bro,
attention to in their respective
they
eras.
had
We still had
bars,
a
bro.
healthy separation between our
Bro,
personal
you-
lives.
I'm sorry for possible. You knew when like Nickelodeon didn't have shit, Cartoon Network had shit. If that bitch ain't had shit, Disney had shit, nigga. You couldn't, bro. It was like I would watch Cartoon Network and know like after this right here, I'm going to Nickelodeon and then goddamn switch around, be real, bro.
In our school
You
and
know,
work
I
life
would wake
from
up
9 to 5,
early in the
only
morning,
entertaining
gang.
ourselves lightly in the morning and in the evenings. We
Yes,
didn't have a
sir.
phone to distract us from
Type
literally
shit,
every
type
millisecond
shit.
of boredom. The entertainment options still felt limited enough that you could feel like everyone around you was on
Was
the same
connected.
wavelength.
Right.
Plus, we were still at the mercy of knowing the schedule of when new shows
Y'all
were going.
niggas don't know this shit, daddy. Cat dog, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yo, bro, that shit was
To
hard,
air,
G.
but that started to die when cable companies provided DVR capabilities. You could
Bro.
now record your favorite shows and movies.
Yo,
and
yeah.
watch
I feel
them
like that's when they
later
fucked
whenever
up,
you
bro.
wanted.
Yeah, I feel
This
like
was
that's
the
where they
beginning
fucked
of
up.
the
Yeah,
streaming
yeah, yeah.
service era
Yeah,
takeover
yeah,
that so
yeah, I
many
fucked it
people
up.
today loathe. Today, you may
Bro.
feel like you are not as connected to the culture because 1, less
Bro.
people are going to the theaters, and 2, the DVD and TV business has been
Shut down.
demolished by streaming services like
Bro.
Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, etc.
Shit sad,
Being
though.
able to stream
A lot of niggas
anything,
lost their
anywhere,
jobs and shit.
anytime, all
Now
while
that I
being
think about
alone
it.
in your room means there's no anticipation, no excitement, nobody to share the experience with, and therefore no real reason to watch, which is why you simply scroll and scroll through endless choices, waiting for something to magically grab your attention, waiting for something to give you a reason to watch, but it just never happens. On a lighter note, every now and again, we do have a monoculture moment. I think back to the Barbie movie where
I ain't
girls
even
were
watched
excited
that,
to
though.
dress in all pink and drag their
Truthfully, I
boyfriends
didn't
to
watch
the
that.
theaters,
I didn't
only for
watch
the
it.
guys to immediately after drag their girls to see Oppenheimer,
Oppenheimer.
where I'm assuming many of them fell
Yo,
asleep.
what the
I think
fuck?
back to
Yo,
Squid
bro,
Games,
yo, hey, bro, gang, I ain't even finished Oppenheimer, bro. I ain't gonna lie,
where
bro.
it felt like everyone
Squid
and their
Games, yeah,
mother
everybody
was
was like,
blindsided by
yeah.
this dystopian critique of capitalism
I feel like everybody
disguised as
watched
a
that.
fucked-up game show. As far as films go, it feels
I
like
didn't
it's
also
only
watch
every
that one
couple
too,
of
bro.
years where there
I
is a
didn't watch
moment
that.
that we are all in sync. When it used to be literally all
Yo,
year,
day,
every
you
year.
was in-
I can't even remember the last time music had a monoculture moment. I mean, sure,
Yeah,
radio
watch out,
is
bro.
still
Nah,
kind of relevant.
nah.
TikTok made popular songs more
But
popular, but
they
there's
never
so much
stick.
music
They
all
never
over the
stick.
place all the time that I don't even know what anybody's listening to anymore. For TV, Yellowstone, Severance, White Lotus, Love Island. I mean, they are extremely popular, but
I
can we
don't
say
watched them.
everyone is
Yeah,
watching those
nah,
shows. Will those
nobody.
shows define this era? I bet there are a
No.
ton of you watching that are like, I didn't watch a single one of those shows.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
irony of
nah,
it all is
man.
that the death of a unified culture everyone seems to be feeling came with our pursuit to be more connected than ever before. Because the adaptation of the internet and social media into our everyday lives was the nail in the coffin for monoculture. By the turn of the century, everyone with extra cash had a computer somewhere in the house. Our parents were using them to basically replace what the newspaper did for decades. As the desktops and internet connection got faster, we looked at forums,
Dude,
chatted through
I don't
AOL
even
Instant
read the
Messenger,
newspaper,
played simple
gang.
flash games on Newgrounds, and even bid on random antiques from eBay.
I
Being
gotta go back
connected
to
to
the
random
old
people
days,
all over
bro.
the
No
world was
cap.
beautiful. You were no longer limited to the thoughts, beliefs, and interests of those in your geographical location. The internet was still somewhat difficult to navigate. You know, there was a time when Google didn't have all the answers. You had to check other search engines like Yahoo and my
Yahoo, y'all
favorite,
feel
Ask
me?
Jeeves, to find
I
what you
don't
were
know that
looking
one.
for.
I know
Videos would
Yahoo
take
though.
forever to load. The
Choo!
quality
Y'all niggas don't know shit about that shit, bro. Y'all niggas don't know
was
jack shit.
often terrible and
Y'all
sometimes
niggas know
just
that
straight
nigga.
up didn't work.
You
Using
feel
the
me?
internet kind of felt like exploring uncharted land. That friction, scarcity, and lack of
True.
instant gratification was what made it special. It was worth working for. Today, we just expect things to work. We demand convenience, and we are willing to give up our human autonomy for it. Initially, the entertainment industry as a whole saw
It
the
got
internet
boring,
as a
bro.
threat because of piracy. Suddenly, millions of people could download movies, music, and TV shows for free
Yeah.
through networks like Napster, LimeWire, and torrent sites, completely bypassing
Yeah.
traditional revenue models.
True.
Studios, labels, and networks feared the
Lost money.
collapse of their business structures, as physical sales and TV deals were at the risk of being replaced.
Yo, watch
The
how
internet
VHS
stripped
they
them of
went
control, and
down.
for the first time, the consumer had the power to access content without paying a cent. From the consumer's perspective, the logic was simple. Why pay for something when you
When I
can
could get it for free, nigga? What the
instantly?
fuck?
Piracy wasn't just
Yeah,
about being cheap, it
free,
was about
nigga.
convenience. Buying a CD or DVD meant going to a store, spending 10 to
Wasting
20 bucks,
time.
and hoping you'd like the full album or movie. Then again, people didn't realize the nuanced value of the additional human experiences they got while consuming entertainment. All
I ain't gonna
that
lie, I didn't
driving to the
realize that.
store,
I ain't gonna
talking
lie.
to people,
I ain't
limited
gonna lie.
inventory,
I didn't
sitting on a
realize
sticky
that.
theater seat, that was all just considered to be an inconvenient cost to getting
Whole
what
time,
you wanted. But you
whole
couldn't
time,
argue
that is the experience, gang. Whole time, that is the story you gonna tell your kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? We used to do this. Woo, woo, woo. You feel me? Whole time, that's the
against the
experience, gang.
value that the internet brought to individuals. It gave everyone a voice, a platform, and endless options tailored exactly to their preferences. And that ramped up significantly in 2003 when MySpace became the first widely accepted platform for social media.
Bro,
By 2005, the
I
platform
use
had around
Mixit, bro.
300
I don't know
million
if y'all know that
users
shit.
and had an estimated valuation of
I
over
don't know nothing
$10
about
billion.
MySpace, man.
The platform allowed people to share their personal passions and stories as individuals. If nobody in your real life aligned with your interests, you would be able to find a community of like-minded people online. People started calling random strangers on the internet their friends. They became
Damn.
invested in their lives, wanting to know what they were doing in their
Never used
geographical
MySpace, gang.
location.
I ain't gonna
Your
lie.
connection to random
Use
people around
Mixit.
the world
You feel
started
me?
to
This
make
shit was
you
cool.
disconnected from those physically around you. Slowly, the digital world began to feel more important than the physical one. As platforms evolved, first
Yo,
with
Facebook was
Facebook,
the
then
first one.
Instagram, and eventually TikTok, the focus shifted
Facebook
even
was the
further
first
away
one.
from a shared experience and towards personal branding. Algorithms were designed not to connect people as a whole, but to keep you personally engaged, feeding you content you already agreed with or found entertaining. The internet became less of
never
a town
explore, gang.
square and more of an echo chamber,
we
reflecting
don't
only
explore.
your own tastes, beliefs, and biases back at you,
True.
just so you wouldn't click off the app. Social media stopped being about community and became a stage where everyone was the main character
Performing
of
and
their
shit.
own story. It made individuals feel more powerful than ever, which could be considered a good thing, but it
And
also
a bad
created
thing,
a
though.
cultural landscape more narcissistic, divisive, and
True,
isolated
bro.
than any era.
I feel like because we don't go out to stores and shit like that, we don't. Once we do go out to stores, bro, we don't communicate with people, bro. That's why I feel like our parents and whatnot can actually communicate with anybody because they've been doing it for like a long ass time. I feel like that's the thing we're missing as a generation, bro. and not trying to be like a motivation speech or whatnot. But I feel like that's what we're missing, gang. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
In history. So the reason why
I
movies,
ain't gonna lie.
TV, YouTube, social media, and literally all other forms of entertainment don't feel the same is a combination of
Because they're
really
not the same.
complicated nuances. However, with a shift in mentality, you could look at all of this as a good thing. If you are a strong-minded individual, introverted, or just someone who doesn't really care about a sense of community and those around you,
Bro,
are
you
in the
introverted
golden
because you're
ages.
made.
For decades, if you didn't fit into the narrow lens of what the mainstream
gang.
deemed valuable, if you didn't like the biggest pop star or wear the right clothes or relate to the 5 TV shows everyone else watched, you were invisible. You had nowhere to go. You were the weird kid, the quiet one, the one who didn't belong.
Goddamn.
But now, the internet gives you infinite options to find belonging, and literally any interest you may have, no matter how unique it is, chances are there is a niche community where someone like you isn't just accepted or celebrated. Do you like wolves eating watermelons? So do 61,000 other people. Do you like stapling bread to trees? So do 335,000 other people. Today, a girl who was once mocked in school for drawing anime characters in her notebook can become a full-time artist with a fan base of thousands or millions. A kid who was laughed at for making weird songs on his cracked BandLab app can go viral on TikTok and then chart on the Spotify Viral 50. A filmmaker with no connections and no budget can put their short film on YouTube and have it resonate with millions of people around the world. These stories were impossible in the monoculture era because the gatekeepers decided what was and what wasn't. Before the internet, independence was next to impossible, and today the gatekeepers have less power than ever. So maybe entertainment feels more chaotic, more overwhelming, and less special. Maybe we are no longer all connected under a simple, easy-to-navigate monoculture, but there is more opportunity than ever for a small independent creator to get a taste of that success. And for consumers, if you know what your interests are and do not let algorithms decide what you want to watch, and are willing to do the tedious task to actively get outside of the echo chamber that these algorithms are trying to hold you in, and find that one quality YouTuber or that one underrated Hulu series, then you are probably completely fine with today's entertainment climate. Build your own world. Who cares about community? This is your life. Now, I personally go back and forth on my feelings towards the death of monoculture.
You just fucked me up with that one.
I personally feel drowned out in content. Since I have terrible movie and TV taste, I will watch just about anything as long as there is a decent premise for the plot. As far as music goes, I am totally willing to put in the grind to find my new favorite artist, and I'm actually one of those.
Yeah, I'm finding a lot of artists, gang. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Truthfully, bro, the mainstream music, I don't listen to mainstream music as much as I did back then, gang. I ain't gonna lie. Cause, you know what I'm saying? Like, niggas listen to like niggas that are going viral. I don't listen to those people, bro. To be honest, bro. I don't. Unless they got like, I would listen to like the one song and then I'm like, go through the whole discography and whatnot. And then if I find out niggas ain't really doing what I like to hear, I just tune out, bro. Truthfully.
People who kind of starts to dislike someone when they get more famous. So I actively look for underrated talent, and Spotify and social media makes that a million times easier and more convenient. But at the same time, I do miss that sense of monoculture. I play a lot of golf, and when I meet new people, I've had countless conversations that lead nowhere because we have absolutely nothing in common due to being stuck in totally different algorithmic echo chambers. Sometimes the golfers don't even watch golf. So I'm just like,
God damn,
how's the weather? And obviously I'm a creator, so I'm benefiting from a system that was created for me to succeed. And because of my feelings going back and forth, my channel is somewhat a reflection of the lack of and yearning for an entertainment monoculture. My YouTube channel is kind of like a 2000s MTV inspired hodgepodge of modern pop culture. Firstly, I'm reliable, posting every Monday at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And every week we talk about something pop culture related. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's film, sometimes it's internet personalities, sometimes it's a comedian, action sports star, politics. The modern YouTube algorithm wants you to keep making the same video over and over with the same thumbnails and dominate one specific niche, which is why you see so many successful channels being repetitive, because that is literally what works. I try to keep a balance. And because of that, some videos get more views than others, Some videos bomb, but I hope you enjoy me keeping that old early
Ew.
2000s variety. You can come to my channel to keep you updated with modern pop culture and feel
There was
some
promotion though. I
tiny
can see that.
slice of that monoculture we all used to love. Also, this was kind of a different style of video for my channel. I
True,
usually
true.
stick to documentaries that are
Right. This
objective
is
and
just like,
fact-based, but recently I've just kind of been wanting to switch it up a little bit. So I'll be looking
mm.
at the comments to see what you guys think about this
Now this
more
is cool. La calm
conceptual
shit.
or
La calm
think
shit.
piece rant type of video.
La
So
calm
let me know
shit.
what you think. Thanks for watching.
Damn. Nah, Debbie Patrick, bro. Why am I not subscribed? I don't know, bro. I did subscribe a long time ago, though. Probably on my other channel. But yeah.